players who deserve more credit. We're going to dispense with the trivia question. We're going to get right to it. Peter's first, then Sims, then me. Peter, you are on the clock with the first pick in round one. Players who deserve more credit in the National Football League.
Number one, Ryan Ramczyk, left tackle, New Orleans Saints. He's a top 5, maybe top 3 NFL left tackle, and yet he gets almost zero attention. Now, for whatever reason that is, but from the time he was drafted, the Mickey Loomis, Jeff Ireland, Sean Payton drafts lately have been very, very good. And this was an excellent pick of theirs 3 years ago. And to me, I look at Ryan Ramczyk and I basically say the Saints have their protector for whoever it's going to be. Drew Brees this year and then either Taysom Hill or whoever in all the years after, and they never have to worry about that position for the next 6 or 8 years.
Yeah, good pick by you, Peter. I mean, there's a lot of offensive linemen I wrote down because none of them get enough credit in my opinion. But yeah, Ramczyk is, he's in the conversation for the best right tackle in the game, and he is dominant that way. So that's a good pick by you. I'm going to go with Chandler Jones out of the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, the guy had 19 sacks last year. He's a double-digit sack machine ever since he's come into the NFL. And since he's gone to Arizona, I mean, last year it was 19 sacks. The year before that it was 13. The year before that it was 17 sacks, and I believe leading the NFL or maybe second, whatever it may be. But, again, I know we all know who he is, but like a Ryan Ramczyk, we don't give him credit or put him in the category as one of the best pass rushers in football because the Cardinals have been a little irrelevant over the last few years. So to me, he is a guy that is grossly underappreciated in the big picture of things for how good he is and what he does on the edge of that defense.
See, and I'm going to disagree with you. I think Chandler Jones gets plenty of credit. He gets a lot more credit as a pass rusher than my first pick, and that is Vikings defensive end Neal Hunter. Here's what little credit Neal Hunter gets. Chris gets his name wrong 75% of the time and calls him Danielle or Daniel, anything but Neal. Let's get his name right first. If you can't get his name right, he's not getting enough credit. He had 14.5 sacks last year, got his first Pro Bowl bid, which he deserved. By the way, Peter Ramczyk got snubbed for the Pro Bowl, at least on the initial ballot last year. But I think Hunter is a guy who is on the cusp of becoming a force in the NFL. He already is. People just don't realize it yet. And I don't know whether it's because they had Everson Griffin there, who was the guy who was regarded as their top pass rusher. Obviously, he's gone now. But Hunter is a cornerstone member of that defense. He set the record for the most sacks in league history before the age of 25. Neal Hunter, much bigger than he gets credit for.
My next pick is Devontae Parker, wide receiver, Miami Dolphins. I mean, look, he was playing in a patchwork offense last year with 2 quarterbacks. And, obviously neither of them right now anyway is a franchise quarterback. And so all he does is catch 72 balls for 16.7 yards per catch. Totally emerged from his previous 3 years of slumbering in this offense. He was on the trade block at one point. And I think Miami now has a receiver to build around for Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, that's a good one. No doubt about it. He really jumped on the scene last year. He's a big-time football player. His health has been the only issue with Devontae Parker. I mean, if he can just stay healthy, he can be one of the best in the game, and he showed that last year. I'm going to stay at the receiver position too. It's a guy that's being talked about like a lot right now because of current circumstances, but we've talked about it on this show many a times, who never gets the credit they deserve, and that's Mike Evans down in Tampa Bay. I mean, Mike Evans has been one of the 5 best receivers in football for the last 5 years. I mean, he's 6'5", and he ran 4.37, and he just, whether it's average yards per catches, touchdowns, whatever it is, he is constantly open. It's not like he gets a lot of bullcrap stats, and when I say that, I mean like little game plan design plays where, oh, wow, he caught a 3-yard pass, and no, he doesn't get any of those easy type receptions that way. What he's asked to do is run 20-yard comebacks, run 50-yard go routes, run post routes, run 20-yard in cuts. He's got great size, great ability, can run after the catch. And, yeah, I just don't feel like he gets thrown into that household name category at the wide receiver position enough, just like with Chandler Jones, because the team hasn't been relevant enough.
Yeah, but again, Evans was a first-round draft pick, and I understand he hasn't gotten a whole lot of credit during his time in the NFL, and he has been better than people realize, but he entered the league with that pedigree of a first-round pick. He was a top 10 pick. He was the second receiver taken. He was drafted before Odell Beckham Jr., so he did arrive with that fame and that recognition. And I say all that because in 2017, my next pick is a guy who arrived in round 7, and the next year his team tried to draft his replacement, and it hasn't worked yet. I'm talking about running back Chris Carson, who was indeed a 7th-round pick, who's got a couple of 1,000-yard seasons. They drafted Rashad Penny in round 1 the year after Carson arrived in Seattle as a running back, and Penny has never been able to get Carson off the field. And they asked Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks from time to time, why isn't Penny playing more? It's like, well, Chris Carson's pretty damn good. And, as we go through, and one of the things that convinced me that Carson doesn't get the credit he deserves, after Christian McCaffrey signed his second contract with the Panthers, we went through and put a list together of the other players from that year, 2017, who are next up to get paid. And I forgot about Chris Carson. I had to be reminded of Chris Carson. It's like, well, Chris Carson is a guy that I think we all need to be reminded of because he doesn't get the credit he deserves for being the engine for that Seattle Seahawks running game. All right, Peter, you're up next, round 3.
I'm going to take Mark Andrews, tight end, Baltimore Ravens. I mean, look, this has been fairly well documented, but obviously they traded Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst, first-round tight end in 2018. Mark Andrews, third-round tight end in 2018. Very rarely does a team ever take 2 tight ends that high, but the Ravens did, and they're glad that they did. Not only were they able to trade Hayden Hurst and get the 55th pick in the draft back this year so that they could take Dobbins, the running back from Ohio State. And so, I mean, it's a pretty good trade-off for them. But now they've still got 2 very good tight ends to sort of build their intermediate passing game around. Mark Andrews is not just, a 10-yard per catch guy, catch the ball, fall down. 14.3 yards a catch over his first 2 years. This is a guy who is going to be in multiple Pro Bowls before he gets to the end of his career.
Yeah, he is, and he's the go-to guy on that offense. I mean, more than Hollywood Brown was last year or anything. I mean, the more you watch the Baltimore Ravens, you started to realize a lot of their game plan design pass plays were around Mark Andrews and his talent. So he's integral in their success to run the ball and throw the ball. All right, I don't like any of my picks today because I don't get to rebuttal any of Mike. Mike's just going to crap on every one of my picks and then tell me how great his pick is, and I don't get to rebuttal on any of it. I mean, what a bunch of bull crap all that is. I mean,
sucks to be you.
Chandler Jones is better than Daniel Hunter. He doesn't get the credit Daniel Hunter does. Nobody talks about him.
There it is. You just got his name. You just got his name wrong twice. His name wrong twice.
Well,
it's not
maybe
Daniel.
that's the problem.
It's Daniel.
That's the problem. Mrs. Hunter, Daniel, whatever. It's a confusing name. I don't give a damn. Maybe that's why you don't get credit, okay? But my last pick is going to be Joe Mixon, all right? Joe Mixon will be my last pick because Joe Mixon, again, is like, I feel horrible for him. Stop laughing, all right? Again, the running back position, and this is what stinks about football, you could be one of the best players in the sport. If you got no help around you or anything like that, nobody will ever know. And in Cincinnati, I mean, they haven't had a great pass game. Of course, their O-line has been crappy the last few years. And Mixon's one of the more talented running backs in the game. His stats show that, but all you got to do is watch the Bengals and watch a game and watch Joe Mixon. And you'll go, man, this guy's special. He makes chicken salad out of chicken, a lot in that offense.
Yes.
I got close there, huh? But I didn't say it. Yeah, you did. Yep, so that's my last pick.
All right, last one for me, and you know what? Since it's the last pick of the draft and we're almost out of time and you guys can't complain about it, I'm going with a 2-pack. I'm going with the Lions' top receivers, Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones Jr. Who are they? Nobody knows. They're great. They don't get enough credit. Galladay is one of the special receivers in the NFL, and the Lions need to pay him or he's going to hit the open market and say, see you, Detroit. Marvin Jones Jr. had that 4-touchdown game last year. He got a little banged up later in the season, but those 2 guys don't get the credit they deserve.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.